Welcome back to the Cheltenham Exchange November meeting preview, and we're on to day 2 with our 2 very special guests, Scotty and Dave, and our special Ian and special John.
Oh, that's harsh.
Special West Ham.
No comment.
Don't mention them.
Yeah,
No.
I can't say anything. Right, so we're moving on to Saturday, straight into it, and we're looking at the first race of the day, Triumph Trial, juvenile hurdle over 2 miles, half a furlong, won last year by Night Salute, Milton Harris. Is it Alex who's been like in Night Salute this year? I think.
Yes.
Anyway, so Triumph Trial, 2 miles, half a furlong. I'll throw it out there. Anybody got anything that they like in this? Dave?
Ooh.
So it's not massively one that I like, but I'd rather just get my bit out of the way, because if you guys start saying stuff about some of these horses, I'm going to get too excited. It's a juvenile race that I genuinely really like, because I know sometimes you might not see anything like the best of the Irish until the Spring Juvenile Dublin Race Festival, and some of their best ones come out in like late December and are maiden over Christmas. But there's been some nice horses that won this. Defi won it a few years back, didn't he? And went and won it. Apple Shakira won it, and I mean, she was short. Gumbel was best of Freedoms before. Far West has won it. Nichols has been beaten this loads of times, but he has won it plenty of times as well. Everyone I've spoken to hates this Blue King Daru, and I don't fancy him, but I can see why he's gone in his favourite. He's a brother of half Daru, I think, for Gavin Cromwell, that's only just started racing itself. He's a couple of years older, so he's like a 5-year-old going hurdling. He's shown like a fairly nice attitude, but I would imagine of the siblings and where the ownership is, this Blue King Daru is tons better. So it's interesting. Like I can see why he's favourite. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't. Scriptwriter, loads of people keep saying, again, the Milton Harris won it with Night Salute last year. They reckon this horse is an absolute worldie. Seen lots of people saying, like Darryl fancied him and thought he would be fairly short. I don't know, maybe not sub 2 to 1. Andrew Blair White put it up on the Let's Talk Racing thing, saying that he fancied Scriptwriter, and his tissue as well. When he said in there, he said if you could get a bit of 2 to 1 about him, he'd be happy. So I think a lot of people think this horse is short. I couldn't see enough in it to think that he should be short. So he's a 9 to 2 poke. I'll be interested to see where the money goes. But again, like I talked about it before, this isn't to say it always is, but I would imagine the fact that he's a 9 to 2 poke, and a lot of people that fancy themselves as racers, like judges, think he should be short, there could be some money for him anyway. I thought that Mediaf ran pretty well the last day. I know Mr. Freedom ran out and everyone was saying that would have won, and Tuddenham Green makes loads of mistakes and didn't do it, but they didn't expect this Mediaf to be anything decent at all. He's carrying the penalties, that's a bit of a negative, but he's about a 7 to 1 poke. I definitely think he'll be in the premises. So if it was gun to head and someone said you've got to put a bet in this race, I'd have a fair bet on Mediaf. Maybe just in the place market, because I reckon something else could be better than him in the race. But he'll be there or thereabouts. I think he's being underappreciated, especially considering Scriptwriter's just on hype and a bit of flat form in it. And this Blue King Daru, people just for some reason want to take on Nichols juveniles just because he's been beaten in the past. So that's my thoughts on the race, and I'll button
it. Mediaf. Scotty?
Yeah, I'm with Dave. If I had to have a gun to the head, Mediaf, I think my horse to follow was going to be Tuddenham Green, early season form, and Mediaf beat him last time. Just think Tuddenham Green, like Dave said, again, makes too many mistakes on the jumping front. Nichols is a funny guy in this race. I mean, I looked at the stats today, and it's one of the early season trials for juveniles, and from 2006, there's only been 2 winners of this race that have gone on and won the Triumph Hurdle. And Dave said one of them, which was Defi Desoy, 2016, then 17. And the other one, you have to go as far back as Catch It, won it in 2006, and then won the Triumph in 2007. And you've horses that have been quite prominent in the Triumph betting and ran in the race, like Kel Destan, Far West, Apple Shakira, All Mankind. They've all won this race before and all been turned over in a Triumph. I absolutely really don't care about having a bet in the race tomorrow. It's just a case of, I've got the Triumph winner back, Ante-Post, Lottie Mouth anyway, so I'll wait to see her hack up in the Spring Juvenile. Quite happy just to let this one go. And I think anything that runs in this race, even Hinterland won this race for Nichols, and he got turned over at 1 to 7 when Baby Mix beat him on trials day, and he didn't even end up running in the Triumph Hurdle. So this race has no relevance for the festival for me, really, as much as it really should do. But tomorrow, I just like Dave said, Mediaf for me would be the safe each way.
Mediaf around 7. So John's very happy about the Lossy Mouth shout.
Yep, like the little Lossy Mouth.
Brother John?
Yeah, well, I know I can see the lad's point on this one actually. For those that have previously run, I mean, I like Cheltenham Green as well till that disappointing run last time, so I've kind of sort of drawn a line through him for the time being. I'm going to go for a bit of a wild one in this. Now, you may laugh, but I'm going to go for Perseus Way of Gary Moore's. Now, he likes a Triumph horse, as we all know. He's picked this one up off the flat from Owen Burrows, and he won a Class 4, a decent Class 4 handicap at Newbury last time out. Over 1 mile too. And they don't really have, these handicaps at Newbury are normally really, really competitive. He beat quite a lot of, experienced handicappers in that race, and it was only his second run. So I think that run might be not bad. I think he's rated 80 on the flat, so that's not too shabby. So I'm gonna, if he can take to the hurdles and he can be neat and tidy, I think he might have an each way squeak in this one. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one, Perseus Way.
Perseus Way for John. Nice price, Rayman.
Right, so the guys just talked about Madiev. I'm going to take a chance on the horse that was in the race that run out. I'm going to go for Mr. Freedom. So I did the first run at Faltwell in August. I think he come third. And in subsequent races, he won twice at Faltwell, one at Plumpton. So then we get to the race at Wetherby. So I watched the video earlier. It seemed to get spooked. It looks like when the three of them were coming up to the second last, it looked like he bumped into Cheltenham Green and seemed to get a bit spooked and then run out. So I wonder if, I know some of the guys said that he with previous videos that Mr. Freedom would have won. We may never know, but so it maybe has gone up £5. Could that be a factor? We don't know, but I'm going to take a chance on Mr. Freedom. Hopefully, he might turn the other two over.
Mr. Freedom for Ian. Okay, moving swiftly along to the 145, the Arkle Trial, and as we mentioned, Banbridge before, it seems to have skipped to this one for tomorrow, so I'm sure there'll be something to discuss here. John, I know you're keen. You're at the Banbridge any race at the festival. You're gonna have to.
I am, but I really didn't think it'd be this race. He was going to be.
Well, I did mean to ask before. I just wondered what the logic was with going.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
I mean, I did say he could line up for any of the four sort of main novice chases, but I didn't. I thought the Arkle would have been the least likely when I said that. To be fair, but they obviously think he's decent. I mean, he jumped really well in his first chase start, and he jumped quick as well. So maybe this will be his bag. I don't know. I mean, I've got to stick with him because I've picked him any race, haven't I? So if I went against him now, it would look a bit daft. So yeah, I mean, Monmiral's the obvious danger. He's probably rightful favourite, but yeah, I'm going to have to stick with Banbridge and just hopefully this is his bag.
33-1 for the Arkle. Can't get that. Dave, I have watched a bit of your video. I think you're pretty keen on one here.
Yeah, well, in the makeup of this race, I'm maybe not so keen to be having a play on him. Can I just ask you, John? I know you've backed him in any race, and like you say, Banbridge could easily go anywhere. If I had to pin you to say right now, what do you reckon his best trip is? What would you say it is?
Well,
I
thought it'd be more a brown novices horse, to be perfectly honest with you. I just thought, I mean, he won the Martin Pipe last year, didn't he? And you normally get, you need a bit of stamina in that race, don't you, with the pace they go at? And I just thought it'd be more on the sort of longer end of the scale rather than the shorter one. But
I agree with you there, John. I was looking at this race again. He's his first run the other day, and I just thought he reminded me of Statler, but I just really don't. Not just because of the colours, obviously, but
yeah,
I think the 4 miler. I don't think he'll stay. I think Statler should have ran in the 3 mile race last year, and he only because he came up against a horse who can jump Vanillier and run Wild Fred's just a nutcase. I think his class got him through that race. Obviously, he stays. We know that, but I think Banbridge, Brown Advisory, all over, definitely all over him.
Good. Well, the main reason I brought that up is because again, a couple of people before he even raced were saying that they fancied him a bit for the National One Chase, and again, not just because of the silks of it, but yeah, I was just intrigued to know because I'm very bemused, even why he had the Arkle entry in the first place, and also if they think he's good off of 143, I think most people would say that 2 miles probably isn't his best trip, but I guess we'll find out. But if he's 143 and they're in a handicap with him, and people backed him into even money for a novice's handicap chase at Cheltenham, he was, as far as we're concerned, like when they're that sort of price handicap, they're going to win, aren't they? To win a handicap, even at Cheltenham, you've got to have a bit up the sleeve. So let's say, just push him. Let's just say he's going to win comfortably. He's an even money bloke. He's going to win, going to go up £7, something like that. He's a 150 rated horse. Why, if they think he's 150 rated, why would they stick him in here? Like they could have just
looking, Dave, at the Cool Cody last year was rated when he won the Festival Plate, whatever it's called. I think he was rated 145. I'm thinking they're sticking him here just to get absolutely lapped and keep his mark for that race, possibly as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because he looks like a good enough horse to do it. Because Joseph did it with Larichberg, started him or ran him over 2.5 miles for a little bit. He was favourite for an Arkle. He probably would have won an Arkle, and then he dropped him back in trip. I don't know whether he came over for this race. I don't think he did, but he's running it like Joseph can do that to drop a horse back. And I don't mind trainers that do it. They obviously think a lot of a horse. So I'm a bit bemused with him. I feel like if you've got a horse that you think, and everyone else seems to think that he's going to run to 150-ish, 150-ish in here might not be enough to win the race. Whereas if he'd have run in that handicap, he would have bolted up. So I'm scratching my head with him, but not in any way, shape or form that I'd say I'd want to take him on because I think he's a good horse. I've waffled for ages and way too much on Banbridge because I do really like Monmouth. I've put him up as my like an Ante-Post bet in the Arkle. He's still 33 with Bet365. Get cash out on there. He's already short on the exchanges. I think he's 25s on the exchanges. I genuinely just think he's a good ticket to hold on to for a period of time. I hope that he's going to take on John Bond in the Henry VIII on Tingle Creek meeting. John Bond's obviously running Wednesday. Nicky Henderson's already said, hopefully it doesn't come too soon before the Henry VIII. And I know this is mental, but I've got loads of scenarios in my head that could happen, and all of them result with me being happy with whatever happens, right? So we've had horses in this race, the Arkle. You'll remember Layla won it years ago. First time as a like over fences, people slate Cheltenham for it. There are easier options to go for. Let's not beat around the bush. Monmouth had been entered in a few places. The ground was just too quick for him to run. He was actually going to run I don't know if was it Market Raisin or someone like that. He was going to start off in the same route as Azertiup, and Azertiup did win this and then did go and win the Arkle. He's obviously had to miss that one. Nichol's comments since basically just say they want him to jump well. If he jumps well, he's got a good chance. But all they care about is him basically getting a bit of experience and jumping well. But they could have found a softer race to chuck him into if they had any doubts. I've seen videos of this horse schooling with Brave Man's Game as well. They don't jump the fence at the same time, but he's in like decent company. Like I know they really like this horse. So I'm bullish about what's going to happen with him. The reason why I'm saying that I don't care what happens in this race really is, remember Deafy DeSoy ran in this as well and came fifth and still won the Turners. So I wouldn't, I'm not going to be tearing up my slip on Monmouth if he jumps like a table and just looks crap in this because he's made to be a jumper. He won't jump like a table because he's Saint to Saints. They love popping over the top of him. I think he's going to run really well, but I don't think they're going to flog him to go and win this race because I do think they've got the Henry VIII, the Grade 1 at Sandown in the back of their mind. Obviously, in this race, if things just fall his way and he's going to win, they're not going to like throw the race. But I reckon he's got a proper chance in here. And I mean, it won't happen. But I wonder whether if he does, say he does bolt up in this, John Bond just walks around Warwick, he's going to have no one to go against. I wonder whether Henderson will bottle the Henry VIII because I reckon Monmouth will do John Bond early on. Ooh. And then the whole Arkle market goes to shit. So my best case scenario is Monmouth wins hard held, beats John Bond and Henry VIII, and then Paddy Power already paid out on John Bond, but Monmouth goes favourite. Even if he doesn't jump that great, I'm still going to be happy with it. Tommy's Oscar's the most inflated rated horse since Music Drive. It's got no chance. No chance can this horse run to 156. And he's another one as well. Like in this company, over fences, I just think he's just going to be schooled. He's just going to look like an absolute bell end. If he wins this race, then tear up your Banbridge tickets because Banbridge should be all over Tommy's Oscar, even though it's not necessarily his trip. Penland obviously won the Triumph, didn't he? He was pretty impressive on his chase debut, I must say, for those 50 yards that he had to walk, wasn't he? But I don't rate Penland. It was never really did. Glory and Fortune's okay, but I genuinely think Banbridge is running at the wrong trip. If he goes and prove me wrong, he could just be a worldie of a horse. I hope Monmouth wins. I think he deserves to be favourite. The market's pretty much how I priced at the tissue. But from a betting perspective for this weekend, I wouldn't touch it with a barge pole. And anyone that had the balls to have a bet in this, I think is either just desperate to have a bet or knows far more than me. So they're just desperate to have a bet, aren't they? But Monmouth's going to win the Arkle, 33 to bet 35. I'd still say have a bit on that. Because even if he does run crap, like I say, it could still be a live bet. What are they going to push him out to, even if it's chase debut and Paul Nicholls doesn't mind getting him beat? Like he got him beat all last season. He doesn't care about losing a race. Henderson's horses, he doesn't want to lose the string of ones, does he? So anyway, I love Monmouth. Monmouth wins the Arkle, and whatever he does on Saturday is irrelevant. He's going to win the Arkle. I'll shut up now.
John Bond's already won it. Yeah.
That was epic. That was epic. I love that. So get ready on Monmouth for Aintree in April.
No, they got Jelena Bello, didn't they, for the 2.5 mile? He's already said that. I mean, this is his first run at Cheltenham minute for Monmouth, but I've got no qualms about the track. But he's going to win the Arkle. It's easy. If you've got a bet for his 5 account and you're playing Ante-Post and you haven't had a bet on Monmouth, knowing you can cash out after, and knowing it's a 30-speed one poke, it's small stakes in it. You're an idiot if you haven't already got him on. But I'm sure everyone's got a tenner on him, surely.
I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'll do that in the morning.
Love it.
Sorry, I'll stop.
So yeah, not necessarily a bet for Saturday, but
Bet for Cheltenham wins the Arkle.
Fit in there. So Ian, you're going to chuck Pentland Hills at us now, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
He better not, otherwise I'm turning.
No, Pentland Pig.
I didn't like to say.
No, I've come down again on the same as John and as Banbridge. Because I'm still not sure on the other two, like Tommy's Oscar and Monreal. And I think it'd be more Banbridge by default with some of the others. So it's again, it's dropping down to 2 mile after winning 2 mile 4 at Gowran. So won the Martin Pipe. I know they couldn't explain the 12th at Aintree. So I think he got checked over by the vets and they couldn't find anything wrong. It must have just been a poor performance. But yeah, I think it's. I wouldn't go mad on Banbridge, but I think that he'd be the one for me. I think, but again, maybe by default, so not the others don't really. I don't know. Not grabbing me. Not grabbing me.
Any kids who may be watching when Ian says come down on Banbridge, Banbridge has been gelded. Right, Scotty, wrap it up for us.
Oh, Dave's going to love me when I say this.
Oh, I'm leaving the call if he says Tommy's Oscar.
Banbridge.
Anyway, Banbridge is not going to win. He's not quick enough to win this race. Pentland Hills can't finish. He's the weakest finisher I've ever seen as a 2 miler. He is just an absolute non-trier. He won the worst Triumph hurdle ever. Glory and Fortune's just a decent handicap hurdler. I think he chased before a few seasons ago and he was just rubbish. Yeah. So he's the other two. No point talking about them. And like that, it's just trying to find an angle. If Montmorel jumps well, he will win. He is the best horse in the race. But I just am not a massive fan of the horse. I just think he's a bit soft. He reminds me a bit of Petty Zig and Irish Saint. I think he's going to end up like those two, handicapping, just running around for scraps in seasons to come. I honestly do think Tommy's Oscar is the one in the race. Goodbye, Dave. Honestly, I've tried to talk myself out of it, but his run at Carlisle, given all that weight to Geronimo, he was going for a 5-timer. I thought it was an absolutely great performance. And if you take away his run in the Champion Hurdle, he's done nothing wrong in like over a season and a half. You cannot fault the horse. He's an improver. And I really like the way he jumped last time. I think it's 7-2. I'm probably not going to do it, but he's the one for me. I think he's the one with the least question marks out of everything in the race. I'm going to look really stupid when he gets pulled up, but I don't care. I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say he's run well. And Dave, I've actually backed him at 33s for the Arkle already.
Oh.
Hey.
So there you go.
Brilliant.
Good that.
That was ace, chaps. Good analysis, good debate. I like that. So, Fusane bolts up there in the Arkle trail. Moving swiftly along to the 220. Paddy Power, Gold Cup, handicap chase, 2 mile 4 furlong, wide open. Anybody got anything they really like in here?
I've got one I've got my eye on.
Go on, Scotty.
I've looked at the race. It's like the worst Paddy Power Gold Cup in recent years, I think. Again, I think anything that's ran and carried anything more than 11.5, I don't think has won the race. I think there's only been 2 winners in like 15 odd years. I think that was Tacker Under Soil was one of them. Midnight Shadow last year, and there was another one that was pretty good. I'm trying to think of who it was. Anyway, and they will end up being Ryanair kind of horses. That's the kind of level you got to be to carry the weight in this race. I like Il Rodotto. I think he's had a wind up, which Paul Nicholls confirmed today, I believe. I think he was a bit kind of last year. I cannot get out my head in that Grand Annual how he was absolutely cantering coming towards the second, third last. It was just a heavy ground, and obviously he had issues with his breathing, as we now know. I just think there's something big in him, and I think this is his kind of race. He's going to be racing off, I think, 10-12. He's only a 5-year-old. I think he could run really well. Midnight River is the other one I like for the Skeltons. I think he was so impressive last time. He's quite likely to race over fences. And obviously, Mr. Skelton knows how to get horses ready for this time of year, chasing like Shamblu in recent years. He's proven he can get them right for the day. I think Midnight River and Il Rodotto are the two I'd be on. Happy Go Lucky, I'm just not sure. Is he going to be ready for this race? Because over 3 miles, I think he won Aintree, didn't he? When he flopped at the festival, he came second, he got done. But again, I just wonder, sorry, John, I just wonder if he's going to be going for the race in a couple of weeks at Newbury, but it's just like, is it going to come too soon? But everything else I'm looking down, Nassalam jumps way out to the left. Last time at Ascot was obviously going to help him at Cheltenham, but I don't think he's that good. Call Cody won't win again. Editor to Jeet's just not that good. Garlaw's probably the only one that I think if he doesn't bounce second run back after quite a long time, I think he could potentially be one. I think he's run behind Riders on the Storm, and Hitman's Riders on the Storm was obviously well handicapped that day, but Hitman to get that close to him, I think was not a bad performance after so long off. French Dynamite, I just don't like. I think he's just massively too short on the betting. Yeah, I could pretty much put a line through a lot of them. The only other one I give a shout to at a big price is Umbrigado for the Pipes. I think he runs some really good races, and I think he jumps quite well. David Pipe at November at Cheltenham again. You just can't ignore that kind of thing. I think Umbrigado at a big price is another one I like, but I'd say the most likely winner for me is Il Rodotto.
Glad you mentioned Garlaw. I'm going to get my bit in. Everybody knows I'm useless, but there was a race when at Exeter last year, and I was on a train when I getting excited about jumping there.
Yeah, we had him for last year, didn't we? Did he get injured or did
I kept calling him GA Law. I'm sure he used to be capital letters. The GA. Yeah. No, I don't know. Died out. I think he went at
just like that Solly Doc AA or Solly Doc R.
Yeah, I love that horse.
McManus horse, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We transgress. Okay, Il Rodotto. Ian, you said you got one that you're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, Galahad Quest for me.
No.
No?
After last year.
Yeah. So I think it's a nice weight of 10 stone 3. So previous experience at this class at Cheltenham. Comes 6th in the handicap chase on New Year's Day. 2nd in January. We lose it to Torn and Frayed. Then run in the Coral Trophy, I think, over a 3 mile, which was won by Captain Ord. So there's a big jump from there. This season ran at Chepstow, over 2 mile 3, was beaten by Fliku Voyu, excuse my pronunciation. So now, and his weight hasn't changed since then. And it's also he's won at Cheltenham as well as a juvenile. Now, funny enough, what Scott was saying, some of these others I was looking at, Happy Go Lucky, Umbrigado, Storm Control, normally run over 3 miles. So I wonder if they're purely in this race just for a run, just to get like a pipe open and maybe future races going back up to 3 mile in the future. But yeah, Galahad Quest for me. I'll take a chance.
I thought John was going to start singing then. Take a chance.
Yeah, take a chance.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is it me?
Go on, Dave.
Go on then. So yeah, Scotty touched on like a few little statty bits in there. One thing that I remember looking at maybe like 10 years ago when I started doing this race, started looking at the stat stuff, was that I think I just did it 10-year trends back then, but they've obviously built up now. Was every horse that had won this race had actually run at Cheltenham, and that's continued every year since. So, sorry to be rude to Galore, but he hasn't won at Cheltenham, so fucked, isn't he? Also, last year I backed Midnight River when he ran in the old Roan at a big price. I was there with a few people. The form analysts, we finally got to meet him. So that was like a nice race day. And I fancied Midnight Shadow that day. And lots of people gave me some stick for it, thinking they had no chance, thinking he like needed different conditions, normally needs to run all that sort of stuff. And then he did come here and go and win it. I wonder whether a few people are getting excited for Galore on that sort of line in as well. But like, it was a pretty good run. 13-2 is absolutely disgusting a price. So another clip you can put on Twitter after he shits home. Galahad Quest that Ian said, I like him a lot. Like, he ticks plenty of boxes. £4 lower than in the race last year, was fairly eye-catching. And I do think that race last year was fairly solid. I mean, you got Protectorat in there that obviously went off and ended up being like a pretty decent 3 mile. I talk about him being a Gold Cup horse potentially from the Skelton Yard. Midnight Shadow, as I say, I thought he ran well in the old Roans, and he was always going to potentially come on for that run. So I think it was a good win from them two. I mean, Layla was in there, so I'll stop talking about the form. But £4 lower, he stayed on. I thought he was fairly eye-catching. I think the ground will be perfect for him. Like, it is drying out a little bit, but I don't know whether they're going to water or not. But I'd imagine there'll be a little bit of ease. It'll be a little bit softer than last year. So he's maybe like an 11 to 1-ish poke. So he'd be the one at that sort of price, like, of the more fancied horses I would give like the better chance to. One at a stupid price, which I'm probably going to get booed off the show for it. I cannot believe Slate House is like 60 or 70 to 1 on the exchanges. I know he's like a bit of a dog these days, isn't he? But he's a beast. He's got like course and distance win around it. Like, there's definitely something about him. And I know like Joe Tizard's been going pretty well this season. There's varying opinions on trainer form and all that sort of stuff. You'd have read Daryl's article on Betfair about how it's not necessarily relevant. There is no thing unless there's like an illness or there's an external circumstance that's caused a problem. But if we do look at external circumstances for like the Tizard yard, fortunately they lost their daughter a few years ago. She was instrumental in the yard, so things were going to take a massive impact off the back of that. Then obviously in the pipeline was that Joe was going to take over. He had his hand in it last season, and I feel like he may have not done everything that he could do with certain horses, just off the fact that he wants to get off to a good start, try and get the owners back. And I reckon that's probably why he's had a fairly decent start to the season. And I reckon he's going to target quite a few races. That's why I said about Oscar Elite for the Hennessy at 33s. He's now 16s after Time Central. He's going to win that. He can still get involved. But Slate House is a 10-year-old now. We see lots of these like veterans chases where horses are going there. They're doing it with Lost in Translation. If you put Slate House in a veteran's chase off of his marker 140, he would be well and truly competitive. But they're not even dicing with that at the moment. I feel like they've had this in the back of their minds. Like, he was fancied for the race a few years ago, fairly well supported when he fell. I think he's a proper horse. I know he's 10. I cannot believe that he's like the price that he is. If he was like a 20 to 1 poke, I'd probably still be having a little bet on him. So it's like Slate House. I fancy him. He's like a 40s or 50s poke, isn't he? What's that?
Didn't he win a novice hurdle on the card about 3 or 4 years ago?
He won the Supreme Trial here, and he won on like an absolute bogey before, didn't he? But he won at Cheltenham in a novice handicap chase. Then he ran in this race where he was going to absolutely shit home. And Robbie Puppy Power did a classic thing that he did. He fucked up on Shanty Village over in Ireland as well by being a dick over the last flight. But the horse just crumpled on landing after. But I did a muggy lucky 15 that day as well because it was a bog. I think Ramsey Tatay might have won that day, but I did 4 horses in a lucky 15. I never ever do lucky 15s. Like, I've done a handful in my time. I had 3 out of 4, and Slate House was the one that cost me. Oh. And I'm devastated after. So maybe it's some sort of redemption I'm looking for, but he's way too big a price. So again, like I say, if you don't put on the exchanges, it's worth having a look. Even the tote might be a price, but he'll be. Well, he is. I've already had some money matched at 70s and 80s on the exchange, or maybe 60s and 70s. He's too big a price, but Galahad Quest is probably the more likely one. But Slate House is too big a price. Don't rest on that. Have a quid on, surely.
He's the only Grade 1 winner in the race over fences as well, isn't he?
He's a beast. Oh, Mr. Fisher's in there, isn't he? But was he
Mr. Fisher hasn't won a Grade 1 over fences, I don't think. He was the only one I was looking at. But yeah, Slate House won the Quarto, didn't he, a few years ago?
I mean, he basically wins, so have the lot on.
Stick it in an each-way double with Tommy's Oscar.
Because I've backed Slate House, I think, every time he's been out.
Well, it's not
no chance. Unless I lay off. Yeah, so. But you're saying about the Tizard, yeah, then before, didn't they have a bad bout of sickness as well?
Yeah. Yeah, they used to be dairy farmers as well, and they went I can't remember what year it was. They went professional, but they put like a lot of effort into it. They've obviously had some good horses over the years, but like more recently, I'd say they don't seem to have been getting as much like owner support. And I feel like they're going to have to, like, from a business perspective, they're very capable of training it, but unless you get in the firepower, they could dwindle themselves down into like a tin pot outfit, and that's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to let that happen, and they're very smart. And I do think they've got a few horses of ability this season, especially if they're getting things to click and some horses are going well. We might just see a few possibly be excused for poor performances the last 1 or maybe even 2 years, but I'm clutching at straws.
I hope you're right. Really hope you're right. Go on, John.
Right. Well, I've got a couple of old favourites in this that I just can't desert, I'm afraid. One of them's what Scotty mentioned before, was Happy Go Lucky. Now, he has been off the track, hasn't he? Is it 570 odd days or something since he got injured? But he does go well fresh, actually. His record fresh is pretty good. I'm still ruining it when he got done the other year by, what's it called? A horse Alex loves, Vintage Clouds, isn't it? Yeah.
Then one at Aintree. Was it Aintree?
Yeah, and then you went on and won at Aintree, didn't he? But I was all Ante-Post on that, like, all the way through, and it just cost me. But so yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with him. I hope Kim Bailey's got him ready. I mean, he has got course form as well. He's won here in December 2020, so I'm gonna have to stick with him. Just hope he's got him ready. But if he doesn't win today, he'll be winning this season at some point, definitely. Now, the other one, this is one where everyone groans. I mean, I'm so far over the cliff on this horse, I've got to keep backing him because he's just going to pop up. And he should have won at Wetherby the other week. Jumped the last, miles clear, fluffed the last, then totally idled on the run in and got caught right on the line. And that's Ruderham and Cheltmental. He's going to win one of these races, and I just can't not do him. And he's carrying a feather. He's got Harry Kimber on, taking another 5 off. He's literally got no jockey on. Like, it's just he thinks too much when he hits the front. He's got to be delivered as late as possible. I mean, I think he's about 25 to 1, so I've got to stick with him each way. He'll definitely place, I reckon, but whether he's good enough to win is another matter. So he might just be a place bet, I think. A bit like Dave with his Slate House, they could be there or thereabouts, getting a place. But might stick him in a little exacta there, Dave, and just see if the 2 rags can come in. You could
do the tote swinger as well, can't you? They don't even have to come first or second. They can finish anywhere in the races. That might be one for novelties. Because I did look at Ruderham and Cheltmental because he should be Ruderham and Car Crash, shouldn't he? Like, he never wins races. So many people have fancied him, and he keeps fucking up at all different times. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel like Dan Oval
beat him.
Yeah, I think Dan Oval might have put him. Did he put him up? Or maybe he did something else. I feel like Dan Oval put him up for his Tipstar TV thing that he did. I think it was one of those horses like that. Yeah, and then it ran crap, and people were fuming because his tip didn't win. But it's not about the tip winning, is it? Anywho, he's £11 lower than last year, and he is a bit of a dog ride. He's again, Darryl doesn't really give a crap about a couple of pounds, but he's £4 out the handicap. So as much as he's got Harry Kimber on there claiming the 5 off, it just puts him in and around where he should be on his official mark. But he's £11 lower than last year, so won't help him win. But
just got to stick with him.
Don't say that Slate House is only a plate. Slate House wins. Canter. Do him in a double with Monroe for the Arkle. There you go.
Dave's double. Daily double.
I'll stop.
Yep. So there we go. Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
So Ruderham and Cheltmental, £4 out of the handicap. But as Dave said, what's that? Couple of packs of bacon, according to Darryl, isn't it? Lovely. Thank you, chaps. I think we went on far too long about that one. So we move on to the last race that we're looking at. 255, 3 mile handicap hurdle. Sporting John won it last year. I'm looking for clues that someone's got. Hey.
I'll go quick on this one. Shearer's got no chance. Don't like him. The one that I do think got a bit of a squeak, and I see the angle because again, few people have more put it onto me than me, is Anion Invictus going back over hurdles. He's been chasing since like the 2021 season, so basically like all of last season. But he was like a 1-3-5 horse when he was last like seen over hurdles. That was in the Betfair Hurdle where he came fourth. Soaring Glory won that. Soaring Glory's come out and obviously won some races since. Edward Stone was just in front of him. Buzz was just behind him. Like his hurdle form and the fact that he's been chasing, he's entitled to be more like progressed than he was back then. When he did that run in the Betfair Hurdle, he was off 135. He's off 135 in here. So if that horse has not improved £7 for the fact of just like a year growth and those sort of things happening, I'd be staggered. So probably they might go back chasing with him, but he's pulled up, he's veered out, he's done all sorts of dodgy stuff over fences. So I think that he's much better than 135. So he's about 13-2. He'd be a lovely little scummy each way bet. You stick in like each way doubles and stuff because I think he'd be there or thereabouts. Could be an absolute bell end of a horse, but I reckon he looks fairly good. I can't believe the price it is. Shearer's not going to win. He's making up the market. That's doing us a favour.
Chris Gordon, there's a few Chris Gordon horses popped up, haven't there?
Yeah, we should go to Ian next because I'm pretty sure he's going to tip Shearer.
No, well, no. I've potentially got two. And one, funny enough, one you've just mentioned about Harry Kimber, but I'll come to that. So the one I'm going to pick is Sidi Ismail. Was previously with Keith Dalglish and now with David Pipe about November last year. Won 3 races at the end of 2021. 2 mile 7 at Lingfield, 3 mile at Weatherby, and then 3 mile 3 at Market Raisin, all at top weight. But then fell in the Yorkshire National and then was pulled up in the Grand National trial at Haydock. This season has won first time at Worcester, was carrying 12 stone 2. But this time around is carrying 10 stone 11. So it is a step up in class for Sidi Ismail, but I think he's got a chance in the race. The other one is the rag of the race, and it's Valentino. Now, you're saying about Harry Kimber, he's on, so he's carrying 10 stone 2 with a £5 claimer. But what I think he's had 3 runs, all at Newton Abbot this season. 1 in May, unseated in September. I think the saddle slipped when he was pressing the leader about 2 or 3 out. And then was funny enough, I just mentioned about Umbrigado. Umbrigado beat Valentino in October. So potentially if Umbrigado runs quite well, we could thank the fall for Valentino. But it was just one that looked quite interesting when I was going through the horses in the race. But yeah, Sidi Ismail for me, maybe a little each way, couple of quid on Valentino.
Valentino's out the handicap again, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not that I know it. Trust me. Scotty.
Yeah, I think you're being a bit harsh on Shearer. I think he was quite good last day. I was quite impressed by him, to be honest. Twiggs obviously boosted the form the other day at Kempton. I was impressed by him as well. But looking at back form, I'm going back to a horse who's going to be, I think, running in a handicap for the first time in over 2 years. And I might get booed off as well for this one, but I like On the Blind Side. I think he's got a little sniff in this race. I know he's going to be carrying quite a decent weight, but he's been running all these top graded races listed against Champ, Time, Hill, all those kind of horses who are the top stayers. And he goes really well fresh, I think, as well. Yeah, I like him. I think it's going to be On the Blind Side and Shearer between them. I don't like Annual Invictus. I think that it's just an excuse just to back him because he's back over hurdles. Plenty of chances. I think he's just unreliable. And Liz Nagaroska, he's just laughable. I don't even know how he even ran in the stairs hurdle, let alone won it. But yeah, I just like On the Blind Side. I think he's got a little sniff tomorrow. Oh, sorry, Saturday. He'd definitely be one for me. And I think he is 15-2. So that's a little scum each way, I think.
On the blind side?
Yeah, mine's a Sky. Yeah, 9 I can see. Sky bet.
Yeah.
John?
Well, Scotty's not going to like this one then. I never thought I'd ever put this horse up, but I'm going for Liz Nagaroska.
Oh, no, John.
I'm taking a leap of faith. He's £18 now lower than since when he won that stayers. He's like literally tumbled with all the pulled ups and the 5th and the 6th. I just think, he obviously got course form. He's got Rob James on his back, which is a very eye-catching booking, I think. Like, that's partially why I've gone for him. I mean, he takes off another £7 as well. So, he's probably carrying hell of a lot less than what he has done in the past. And like on the blind side, he's been racing in a lot better races than this. And I just think I'll give him a chance in this. He's, like I say, he's not one I've backed for a long, long time, but I just think he might pop up. So obviously he's got the course form. So yeah, I'm just going to give him a go. I just found it a bit of a hard race to pick, to be honest. So I've come down on something a little bit different for a change.
There's Nagar Oscar.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Good old Rebecca Curtis.
Great stuff. Yeah. Shout out to Rebecca.
I know she watches.
Yeah, we'll have you on the show, Rebecca.
Okay. Lovely. Right. So Shearer it is then. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that wraps up Saturday for us. Unless anybody has anything else. Oh,
No.
I've got to draw your eye to the mayor's bumper on Bonte.
Willie in the bumper.
Bonte.
Oh, yes, for Alex.
Alex, you've got to do it for Alex. Alex
his favourite horse.
Bonte. Won the race last year, I think. So yeah, we've got to check it out.
You wanted us to mention it now, Bonte.
Yeah.
Bonte.
But it's Willie's in the bumper, isn't it? And Bryony and Patrick are in love, having a love affair, aren't they? And Willie's going to give
He
her a
has
little.
glasses on.
Willie's giving her a little pop, isn't he?
Patrick.
Why is Henderson not sending Lucia hurdling already? Why is she staying in this bumper? I don't get that.
Yeah, that worried me a bit.
You know what it is, didn't you?
Train Waters wins in there. It's nice.
They do this so much with horses like this as well. It's black type, isn't it? It's just on the breeding page when they breed with her in the future. They'll be able to say that she won a Class 1 listed bumper there, and they'll be able to say that she was placed in another Class 1 listed bumper. It's all black type. So she's obviously got ability to go and do it. Again, another one of those that's making up the market. I would be well away from her. Jamie quite likes his Queen's Gamble, doesn't he? But like Willie in the bumper. Stop making it difficult. Daz Lad won in October. The first horse Willie sent over, maybe even ever in the October meeting. Willie in the bumper. And I said I had nothing else to say.
I think the second Fav wins it.
Set
Doesn't
him
it?
off,
I mean,
Jack.
I think Lucia as well, going into like Newbury in a couple of weeks' time. You've got the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. It's a good Mayor's Novice Hurdle program they got there. LA Bell and I think Silver Forever, all those horses have been winning it. I just think she might be just schooling shit at home. There's probably an excuse why they're keeping her over there. You just don't know, do you? But
yeah, that's it. And that's what I mean. They'll get some more black type by running her in a bumper. They'll stick her over hurdles in a race like that where Nichols will have something to go against them. And if, like you say, if she's not been schooling well, she gets beat. It doesn't matter about getting beat over hurdles. She's ticked another box, I think, anyway.
possibly.
And there we go, folks. There's a bonus for you.
No one's watching the video this far in. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, we've got on here, haven't we? Right. So that's Saturday done. Let's knock it swiftly on the head. Thank you, chaps, and we'll get on to Sunday.